Welcome to the Plant-Based Podcast. Did you know that plants are truly amazing? Not only can you grow them and eat them, you can also wear them, drink them, nourish your skin with them, and so much more. Let Ellen and Michael inspire you to love plants as much as they do, as they chat with the movers and shakers in this wonderful plant-based world. So, let's dig in.
This episode of the Plant-Based Podcast is brought to you by our friends at Cobra. The Cobra range of garden machinery is constantly expanding and offers the UK's largest range of lawnmowers. With a comprehensive lineup of quality and innovative petrol, electric, battery and cordless products to tackle any gardening task, Cobra is the newest evolution in garden machinery. Visit cobragarden.co.uk for your chance to win a variety of great Cobra products.
So today's guest on the podcast is Lynn Ferguson, performer and writer. She's got a huge repertoire in comedy and stage performance, but today she's going to talk about growing in hay bales in Los Angeles. But before we introduce Lynn officially, you may recognize her as the voice of Mac in Chicken Run. So welcome, Lynn.
Hello. I know I always feel I should do something more chickeny when I start. But I don't. You know what's funny as well is in Chicken Run, the bad person is the bad lady is Mrs. Tweedy, and my married name is Tweddle, right? So it's a bit too close. And then last year, because our kids were home, we decided that we would hatch some eggs. So we built our own chicken coop called Cluckywood, actually.
Oh, God.
But they're now Mrs. Tweddle's chickens, which is I've turned to the dark side, you know.
Have you named them after characters from Chicken Run?
No, you know, the thing with chickens is you think that they won't have personalities, but they really do. And so you can't name your chickens after anything other than your chickens, you know, even when they're little. So our rooster is called Genghis and is very Genghisy. I say it's my husband's spirit animal because in the morning the two of them walk around to the front, you know, the backyard, like looking all proud. We have Bridie, Nuggets, Poggers. We have Angus, Senga, Margaret. Who are the other two? Bruiser. Did I do Bruiser? So we've got 8 of them. And my 13-year-old son is the chicken guru. He's amazing. He gets up in the morning. He lets the chickens out. He's the one, if we have to catch the rooster, he catches the rooster.
Wow.
The roosters are mean, man. They're mean.
Andy.
Yeah. In fact, we had a very LA moment. Was it last week, 2 weeks ago? They always film in our street. They're filming in our street all the time, which is adorable. When you move here, you're like, oh, look, LA filming, that's magic. and then when you're here for maybe a year or something like that, you're like, get off my lawn. Get off my bins.
You're disturbing my life.
Yeah, right. And they had a drone. So they were doing this thing called Backyard Bar Wars, and literally in the next door house. And in the house across the street. So they had a drone flying above the Chicken Run. I don't know, like last Sunday or something like that. And the rooster was like, I'm gonna get you. I was like, wow, that is awesome. Literally Genghis would have taken on a drone. I'm like,
I love Genghis. I've not met Genghis, of course.
I'm going to send you.
Yeah.
He looks like the picture on the Kellogg's cornflakes. He's yeah.
Oh, well, we love Genghis. Thanks for sharing that. We want a photo.
Do you realise, Lynn, we've talked about chickens for 8 minutes? We haven't even asked you the first question of the interview yet.
Get me started on my chickens and
because we're not here today to talk about chickens, are we, Ellen?
We're not, but we are going to obviously talk about your garden in LA, and that is what we will definitely get to, all about what you're growing. We've already seen some mighty fine fruit there, but we'll talk about that again in a minute. But just to kind of give the introduction to our listeners so they can learn a little bit more about you. How did it all begin for you? So you've had a really great career in acting and writing, and obviously lots of comedy as well. Tell us about it. How did that all start?
It's just sort of weird. You know what? I was thinking yesterday that my garden is actually a little bit like my career, in the sense that I started with all good intentions going in one way, and then life does whatever it does in the same way that gardens do whatever they do. And so it's all been kind of a random, lovely experiment. I went to school in Cumbernauld, just a normal, comprehensive school. I didn't really know what to do, but my friend Rachel, who I've known since I was 2, she decided she was going to drama school. So then I was like, I'll go to drama school. And then I got into drama school. I got into the Royal Scottish Academy randomly. And then after it, I needed a union card. So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. And then someone said, do you want to do a double act? So I did the double act, and then I was doing comedy. And then somebody offered me £250 at the time to do 3 minutes of stand-up on television. And I was like, that sounds like a good idea. That's how I started doing stand-up. And then somebody asked me to write a stand-up show. And I was like, that seems quite tricky. So I wrote a play instead. Mm-hmm. And then the play got filmed, and then I ended up, doing a sitcom, and then I wrote 3 series of a sitcom for Radio 4, and then I did some TV, and then, so I'd love to say to you that there was something where, I did this, and I got up every day, and I did Pilates for 4.5 hours, and then I ate nothing but spinach and green juice. And really, it's all.
I did just drink a green juice.
She's very holy.
I am judging you right now, lady. But I figured that there would be some. I'd love to say that there's some pattern, but actually, I think my whole career has been based on the idea of, that seems quite interesting, and that literally is it. And so at the time, the move to LA was really because I'd been visiting my brother in April for my husband's 40th, and he'd asked me to do his show, guest on a show, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And my husband was like, don't be mean, do it. And so then I did it, and we had a laugh. We were just laughing. And then I went to Edinburgh. I was doing 2 plays in Edinburgh, and I got a call to say, will you come over and do a show in September, just guest? And then... So I came over in September, and after that show, they took me out and said, there's a writing job starting in October. Will you move over?
Wow.
And I called my husband, and I was like, I don't think we can do that. But the thing is, never ask a man who's just turned 40 do anything. So then we moved over here, and in 6 weeks, with 2 children under the age of 6 and 8 suitcases and nothing else, really, I started a job. We arrived on the Thursday. I started the job on the Monday. I stayed there for 2.5 years. When I was there, I got a call from Pixar saying, do you want to work on Brave? And I was like, sure, sounds like a good idea. So it just always is. I really would love to say that there was some great thing where I'm like, this is a way to do stuff. And really, it's all about me. But actually, literally, my career is based on, that sounds lovely. And then that's
going with the flow kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of. And also that thing of going with your gut. I think that there's life.
Talk about that a lot. Yeah.
You do, right? It's like that thing of life is this balance of going with what you want to do and what you know is right or wrong.
And you feel it inside somewhere.
Yeah.
I think you always know when people make bad decisions, they know they've made a bad decision when they make it,
Yeah, and there's also
admit it to themselves.
Yeah, but it's also more tricky. In my experience, I have a thing of if something's simple, then it's simple, then that's the right way to go. But what are you two up to?
Do you know what? We got the questions are here, and we each do a question, and she's like, yeah, don't forget to ask the question. I'm like, and so I'm mouthing back to her, oh no. You're not supposed to notice stuff like that.
Oh, I can't. It's my job, though. That's what I do, right? I like look and go, what's going on with them? What's the
question?
We pull loads of faces at each other when we're interviewing people, which is really unprofessional. And also, Michael has this habit of like shaking his leg underneath the table, and I have to stop him shaking the leg. A, because everything's shaking, and B, because it really makes me need a wee. So I'm like, stop. You can ask the question now.
Oh, bless you. I'm going to blow my nose. Hold on.
And the desk is always covered in long black hair as well.
Yeah, I know it is. You're right. You're right.
So just so I got one back. So you're telling us a bit about your TV career and such. Can you give us a few of the highlights? Because obviously, you know, we've looked you up. I've seen you on the Catherine Tate show doing you went to visit Nan.
Yeah, I was Nan's
there. And also the Late Late Show. So tell us a bit about your TV work before we move on to the hay bales.
The hay bales, right? Those hay bales. We not straw bales, hay bales. Yeah, well, that's a bit of a detail. My husband will, if I say straw bales, he'll be like, you're misleading people. It's not. I've done quite a lot, but I'm you know, like, I'm a little under the wire with it. Like, I guess I've done some stand-up on TV. I did like the stand-up show and stuff like that. I actually also did quite a lot of panel games when panel games were the thing. Okay. Excuse me. Catherine Tate was a lovely experience. It was like it's a really wild way that they film because it's live studio. At that time, it was at TV Centre, and so it's very technical. Actually, she's extraordinary, but it's the whole thing of how you film something like that is very technical because you have to hit marks because there's certain cameras that are hitting you at different angles. So it's a little bit like choreography. Mm-hmm. I did a series. I suppose my favourite might have been a series called No Angels that I did for Channel 4 because the people in it are still my friends, you know. Like you go there and you're like basically sitting in a truck or like it was actually in an abandoned mental hospital in Leeds. Okay. Which isn't very showbiz. And so basically the way that filming works is you sit in a room and you hang out, you talk about stuff like what you're planning and who's going where and your sister's wedding and all those things. And then someone says, and you're on, and then you go off and you show off. And then you go back into your wee room and you're like, and anyway, I just said to him, I was making a sandwich. And so there was a lovely kind of companionship in it. In fact, because I did it with Joe Joyner and Kay Ragg and Sunetra Sarkar, all who...
Joe Joyner, she was Tanya in EastEnders.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
and
I'll have to tell you a story about her shortly, actually.
Oh, really?
Ooh, remember, they're still friends.
Yeah. Maybe we'll meet up and maybe I'll meet up filming with her somewhere else and go, yeah, well, you know, I needed plant-based. Yeah. And then we'll be like, oh, time to show off.
Well, when I tell you what it is, I would hope she remembers it.
Oh.
But I'll tell you at the end of part 1.
Okay. But actually, like over here, we have a thing about what TV we watch. Just during the pandemic, and I've been watching Shakespeare and Hathaway, which is just a bit of fluff but lovely. And so I was watching it and I was messaging her and I said, I love what you're doing. And she's like, oh, thanks. It's the first thing that I'm doing that the kids can do, you know, the kids can see. And it was a little bit like the rhythm of it where you're like, oh, I see you showing off, that's magic. And I just want to say, how's your sister? What's happening with the wedding? So I really like the community in TV. I almost, I never like to see anything that I do. I never like to watch it. It's excruciating. I guess it's that thing, well, for most people, the way that they look on the outside doesn't quite match the way they feel on the inside.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I always think I'm about 38, and then I'm like, oh. But even when I was like 17, I always thought I was about 38. So I'm like, right?
Basically, nothing's changed of how you feel inside.
Not really in that way. So I don't really like seeing anything that I've done because I kind of don't recognise who it is, or I'll look for the rhythm of the mistake. So
what about the Late Late Show? Because was that your brother who interviewed you?
he still is my brother.
Yeah, sorry.
He still is my brother. He is allowed to be.
It depends if you've fallen out or not. Really. Like, yeah, maybe you've divorced him. I don't know.
Yes, it is. It was. And after the second interview, then I went to work in the writer's room, which is very different writing over in America than it is from Britain. There was 10 at the start. And then basically you go off into a room, you write jokes. The jokes that you write are then filmed at the end of the day. So you go to work at 10. You go to work for 10. That's the first meeting. If you're an early bird, you'd be in researching topicals beforehand. My kids were 6 and 18 months, so I wasn't particularly an early bird in that sense, because there were schools to be sorted. The first meeting's at 10, then you discuss where you're going, and then you write jokes until 12, and then on a topic, and then you'd have lunch, and then you would write topical jokes based on what was happening on the day. Then that would be agreed around 3 o'clock, and then the stuff itself would be recorded at 5. And that was like 5 days a week. So it was intense. It was the most extraordinary and intensive training. And why I loved it, actually, is I learned that I can write even when I don't want to. Like, there's a whole thing about writing that you have to...
Yeah, how do you write jokes on demand? I don't imagine how do you do that?
You know, there's a structure to them, which is basically you're looking for something that is no more than 3 sentences, right? And you'll do a setup, which is sentence 1, and then you'll either do the return on sentence 2, or you do a twist on sentence 2, and then you'll do the return on sentence 3. So 1, it is structure, and 2, there's a thing about, and I teach people quite a lot because I work with a lot of writers. I was in my other world. I have a thing where I work with story at my business. I have a business working in story. And I teach people that when you're looking for an idea, if you just imagine that just slightly above your eyebrows, right, in the air, there are hundreds and hundreds of different coloured balloons, right, all with strings. They're just all there. And when you're looking for an idea, you just pull the string and there'll be a balloon there, and then you just follow it. It may not be the idea that you're going to eventually write. It might just be the rough draft. But if you just take something, you'll find...
If you start, it's always good. Yeah. There's this... Have I told you before about this? There's this website where for people that procrastinate about writing, and the website is called Write or Die. And basically you just have to keep typing, and when you stop typing, it then shakes the screen and plays awful violin music.
Oh wow.
You type and empty your brain, which kind of helps because it starts you off. Even if it's sort of partial gibberish, you're still getting it out there and you're starting to build what you're writing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's another one, I can't remember what it's called, but it encourages you to write by putting up pictures of cute cats. I don't know what that website's called.
Damn those cats.
So it depends if you're into cats or not, you know.
What I'd say to people with writers, often the reason that people can't write is it's what I call an overactive quality control, right? Which is that they've got something in their head where they go, nobody will like this. This idea's already been written before. I don't know how to do it. It's not going to be interesting. All these things are really useful because of the things that you have to keep in mind so that you don't become an asshole in your life, right? And just you have to have a level of quality control. But there seems to be the very act of just sitting and writing. It brings out this quality control too loud. So you're looking to just tone it down a bit and go, right, okay, I just have to pull a balloon. I don't have to write Tolstoy.
I need to pull balloon.
Pull a balloon. I like this.
Yeah, I do quite a lot of writing, and sometimes I just sit and stare at nothing. Like, what am I going to write?
Environments help, but at the moment, obviously, a lot of us can't get into different environments. Like, can't go and sit in a coffee shop easily. And,
it does help with the creativity, definitely. But before we get on to gardening, I do have one question. You said you don't like seeing yourself or like acting or on TV, but you did voice Mac and Chicken Run. So did you watch that?
I did, and actually there's something when I first met my husband, I met him in a bar and I told him I was a dentist, And because I was like, nobody ever bothers with people if they're dentists, right? If you meet someone and they say they're a dentist, you don't go, oh, tell me about your dentistry. I want to know about your whole family. You tell me about your family and the whole practice of your family dentists. Hey, tell me about your favorite tooth. What's your favorite tooth? Come on, show me a tooth, right? They don't do any of that. They just go, oh, a dentist. Oh, very nice. And so when I met him, I was was a little jaded and a bit tired. And I said, I'm a dentist. And he didn't really care. He was like, oh, okay. And within a month of dating, we'd gone to three movie premieres at Leicester Square. One of which was Chicken Run. There was another one that I did with a band called All Saints. Do you remember them?
Yeah.
I did a movie with them called Honest, where I played in Australia, and that was really difficult because my accent's not my thing.
I don't remember them having a film.
I don't remember.
Dave
Stewart. We're going to
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry in advance for it. Dave Stewart of the Eurythmics, he wrote it and directed it, which was lovely man. So there was that one, and then there was a movie, and I don't even remember the one it was, but it was my brother had written it. And we'd ended up picking my parents, who are just very Cumbernauldian, up from the Dorchester, right? And we were wheeling my mother out of the Dorchester, and Mark, my husband, turned to me and he said, "You're not a dentist, are you?" Like 3 movie premieres later, and picking up their parents from the Dorchester, and he's like, "Well, I think it's time we talk." So I have seen. I do like Chicken Run, actually. The bits that I think one of the things with Chicken Run that I'm so intensely, I'm kind of proud to be a part of it. The thing with Aardman is I think that they're like a national treasure. They're like something. They're like Thai food or something really brilliant. That's really British. Like, I think that Aardman are really something to be proud of, and I love being part of anything they do. They also run a really lovely team. If you ever work with any Aardman people, again, it has that feeling of just a family of people who hang out, and make stuff, really great stuff, but just a family of people,
Oh.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm going to play the dentist trick. Not that I'm dating, I'm married. But if anyone ever says to me, what do you do? Yeah. I always find it really difficult. And then if I do say, I don't know, I'm into gardening, or I'm like, I write about gardening, whatever, I get a barrage of questions. Oh, how do I look after this plant? How do I look after this house plant? Or what about this? And I'm like, wah!
Or you'll say something like content creation or social media or TV, and they kind of just...
Yeah, there's like all these questions.
Yeah, it's stuff that people can't comprehend a lot of the time. Yeah. So I know what you mean by dentist. It's easier because everyone knows what a dentist is.
Let's just be dentists.
Yeah.
And people appreciate them, but they don't necessarily want to talk about it.
I completely get that as well. Okay, so we've learned loads about you. In part 2, we're going to talk gardening, aren't we?
Yes.
I can't wait to find out more about growing in hay bales and just basically your whole setup in LA. So that's cool.
I promised to tell you this short story.
Yeah, tell me.
So I've been working quite a few years doing the World Naked Gardening Day.
No way! You get your kit off and your trowel out. You do not.
And, he's always getting his kit off.
And probably about 10 years ago, I set up a fundraising team called the Grubby Gardeners. And we did all sorts of like mud runs and kind of raised about 25 grand for charity, actually.
Wow.
And they asked us to go on Loose Women. And we went on Loose Women as naked gardeners. So we were naked. And if you see the clip, it looks like we're wearing like a belt and underwear, but that was actually that was the microphone belt. So we were actually naked.
Oh my God.
And each of us was assigned a loose woman to do these demos with. And of course, the first one, Andrea McLean with the guy called Andrew and is like, trimming the topiary balls, kind of that. And then who else was there? Jamelia, Joe Wood. And then Joe Joyner, who was the one that was accompanying me in my demo. And so, I showed her how to plant dahlias, and she probably saw my thing.
No way! She saw your ding-a-ling.
Because, we're literally like here at the desk. Yeah.
So you were actually naked?
We were actually naked, yeah.
Did you not mind?
No, because you got to do these things once, haven't you? You know? Yeah.
Well, if it feels right, if it feels right, then it's the right thing to do.
But the worst thing is there was an audience at the side. It was a live audience in those days on Loose Women. So kind of like from the side, all the women could like see the display.
So basically loads of women have actually seen your...
Well, yeah, but from a distance, I guess. I wonder if anybody had a telescope that day. They could really have a bit of fun. But yeah, so that's my link to Tanya from EastEnders.
Basically, she's seen your sticky willy.
Isn't she a sweetheart though? She's just like properly good human, you know. That's that thing as well about why it's really cool to sometimes I meet people where it's a little intimidating, you know, because you're like, oh my God, I know you from my thing. And actually then I, in my head, think of them as a dentist so that I can talk to them.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, because
it's hard when someone's well known. It's like they might not want to switch it on every day to greet everyone, do they? Yeah. You kind of have to remember that, but it must be hard.
Yeah.
I remember there was a point at the Late Show where, because you'd meet people beforehand or see people beforehand, but they're there to do work ostensibly. You know, they're not there for you to fawn over them. And there was a point where Tony Curtis came in. And I know, right? Where you go, I'm not impressed by anybody, but man, that's Tony Curtis.
I'm the same with Danny.
Curtis. You're the same with who?
Danny Minogue.
You are not. Danny Minogue?
Yeah, I think she's
Would
great.
you show Danny Minogue your thing?
Do what?
Would you plant dahlias for Danny Minogue?
I see, right. I mean, if the charity asked me to. It's great because you can always pass those things off as charity, so you can actually do something more daring, but like say it's for charity and you can get away with so much. It's amazing.
Oh my God, I might have world custody. There's do you know Heston Blumenthal? You know, right? He, because we do a podcast. Well, I don't do a podcast with Heston Blumenthal, but I do a podcast and he comes on my podcast.
Oh,
my podcast. Well, our podcast is We're All About Mental. It's about mental health. And Heston came on and he was talking about how he wanted to do World Farting Day because everybody farts.
Yeah,
it's really good for the body, and also you want people to be healthy and not be embarrassed about things that are good for them. So maybe, but don't combine Naked Gardening Day with World Farting Day.
No, maybe not. Are we in part 2 now? Where are we?
I don't want to be there if that happens. No, we are not. But
we're not in part 2 yet.
We will be back in part 2 to talk about gardening in LA.
Yes, absolutely.
Without any ding-a-lings.
Hello, it's Donna from Pretty Cactus Plants. Welcome to the Plant Based Podcast. Today, I am going to talk to you about the Peat Ban and what it means for you. As of May 2021, the UK government finally made the decision to listen to the outcry of gardeners and plant parents across the country. It will officially ban peat and its use in the gardening industry, and that will come into effect in 2024. Ministers have pledged to support the restoration process involved with turning peatland back into carbon-absorbing forest again. So what exactly does this mean for you as a plant parent? The farming of peat in the UK is one of the largest contributors to CO2 emissions in the UK. Which is why it's such a great thing that the peat ban is coming into effect in the coming years. There are certain growers across the UK that have already cottoned onto this and have started changing to peat-free soil alternatives. This includes some of the houseplants that are now coming from growers over in Holland too. At Pretty Cactus Plants, we have introduced a new peat-free range, and it's exciting to see that this is actually now spreading across the range of houseplants available, and it will soon become the norm. If you like potting up at home, don't panic. There are plenty of peat-free alternatives available on the market. Or you could even actually try growing your own compost yourself. So next time you're heading to the plant store to pick up a new houseplant, take a look at the label and see whether it's peat-free. Or Or if you're propagating and you need to pick up some soil, pop to your garden centre and take a look for peat-free labelling on the packaging. There's plenty out there. So that's it. That's the Peat Ban in a nutshell and all the information you need to know. Head on over to www.prettycactus.co.uk to see what peat-free plants we currently have in stock. Until next time, bye!
Right, so we're back here with Lynn. She's gone off and made herself a cup of British tea.
British tea.
She's drinking it while she's going to tell us all about growing in hay bales. So tell us about your garden setup there in LA. You're blessed with a great climate, which is good. But how did you start your vegetable growing journey?
Oh, my vegetable growing journey. That has to be one of the best questions that anybody could ask anybody.
Yeah.
How did you start your vegetable growing journey? Well, let me tell you about how I started my vegetable growing journey. We bought this house, right? And we had the first house we bought here had nothing but a big, really deep, big swimming pool in the backyard. And it was like one of those, people before it had concreted and just put it there. In fact, the people before us that had owned it were, they'd run a really famous drag bar in LA. And so it was like quite an extreme house when we bought it. It had been left in disrepair. We always buy things that are in disrepair. So like it used to be that house had been painted pink and there'd been like big naked pool parties there. It had been very whatever. It was like a lovely house, but not really a place for growing anything. So then when we bought this house, it basically nobody had lived in it for 4 years. And only one family had lived in it since 1942.
Wow.
Yeah, right. And it's in a third of an acre. It's in this, what is called the kind of orange grove area of the valley. So it used to all be orange groves. And actually the street looks a little Beverly Hillsy, but it's totally not. It's totally not a Beverly Hillsy area, because this particular street used to be the entrance to a park. And in fact, we still have, because the park had a sort of some kind of little, menagerie or something like that. So we still have this flock of green parrots that fly by and sit in the tree. They're really noisy. But because how we bought it, pretty much everything was dead, apart from citrus trees, which are quite resilient if they're old. But even then, God, I found out this really mental. So actually my gardening thing has been very much like my career, which is that I go, okay, we're going to have to deal with this now. So the citrus trees, one of the things that was really problematic with them was that they hadn't really been watered and they were really sun damaged. And then we were told, I don't even know who it was that told us, who said if you paint them with a water-based paint, that it stops sun damage. So we had to go to our version of B&Q and say we need as dark as you can get, water-based paint. And they'd say, what do you want it for? And we're like, the trees. And they're like, exterior then? You're like, no exterior paint. And interior paint. It has to be interior paint, water-based. It's amazing. And so we had this one tree that literally was like a kind of shell of a tree that's now flourishing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's real. So sun damage, water-based paint is your business. But so we went up.
That's mad. So, but what colour does it need to be?
Well, it doesn't need it. Well, you can do any colour, but it's better if it's sort of tree coloured. I
just wondered because I've seen in China they often paint the bottom of the trees white, and I didn't know why that was, but maybe that is to protect from sun damage.
Could be because you can do you do that with over here. People do it with avocado trees. You can buy really expensive like sunblock for trees, but actually the best way to do it is to slap on water-based paint. So all our citrus trees are a sort of attractive. They look like they look kind of dry clay on the trunks.
That's cool.
Literally changed them, totally changed them.
Wow.
And then,
We'll
but
never
apart from
do that in England.
No.
well, here in the valley where we are, it can be like, I think last year it got to like 115 or something like that. It was like intense. I don't know what that is in your money, but it was like it was very hot. So
That's hot.
I'd have shorts on. Yeah,
you need to really help everything. And so then apart from that, there was nothing. This is a horribly big showbiz clanger, but like there was nothing here. And then a friend of my husband's wanted to have a party, like for quite a big birthday. And we were like, well, you can do it in our yard because there's nothing there and you can't damage anything. So she's from, where's she from? I think she's from Tennessee or something. So she set up the whole backyard with hay bales. And we had a country, well, wasn't it? We had a band, they were called the Contenders, which were a copy of the Pretenders, were playing at the back. You know, there was like 200 people here. I was going crazy. I'm like, how to get the neighbours to hate you in one fell swoop. But because it's LA in the way that things are, then one of those people was Shia LaBeouf, who randomly you wouldn't think was a big gardener, but turns out knows quite a lot about gardening.
Yeah.
And we
Came on the podcast.
he'd probably really like it, actually. As we were standing there going, what are we going to do with all this hay? He was like, you should use it for planting. We were like, what? And it's a German thing, I think. Okay. So, like, initially we were... we had bought at the time all these little waxy leaf privets, tiny ones, in order to do like a hedge for the back, because it grows like crazy here if you feed it. Like, we planted ours maybe 3 years ago, if that, and already it's maybe 7 foot tall.
Wow.
To have that climate. Oh.
Wow, that's some growth.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's still, not as beautiful as you'd want it to be, but it's about to hide the view of the house next door. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we were planting that, and we have clay soil here. And he was like, if you plant hay, if you're like planting anything in clay soil and you put hay down first, then it really helps the growth of everything. Because of the nitrogen or whatever, I don't know what it is with it, but so we packed the whole thing in hay, and the privet just went crazy. And then we're like, yeah, but look at these hay bales. And he said, if you put nitrogen in them and cover them, then you can plant anything. And that's what we did. It's complicated because you put nitrogen in, and then they get really hot. Cover them, and they get really hot in the sun, and you have to wait until this sort of process calms down and they get cool. Otherwise, you just like literally fry your plants. But they get to a point where they're warm, but not too warm. So that first year we planted, I think everything that we planted went crazy, apart from broccoli and cauliflower, which we can't grow. We're rubbish at that. Broccoli, cauliflower, avocados, can't do them. None of them.
Can anyone grow avocados? Honestly.
Well, there's a person at the other end, just like one street up, who mocks us with their avocado tree. Like their avocado tree is like, but like we've planted so many here and it doesn't work. Because we have clay. Avocados are very sulky that way, and we have a clay soil. So we did that. We've done that twice. Important that you do hay bales and not straw, though, because straw has seeds in it. And if you have the seeds, then it just causes chaos.
So it's definitely hay and not straw. And I'm just, how you said you want it to heat up, so you cover it and you let it heat up. Is that to make the kind of inside the hay bale break down?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. So then you're planting in kind of the well-rotted kind of inside of the bale.
Absolutely. And what
also,
happened?
Sorry, but you're adding nitrogen, but in what format? Like how?
Well,
it comes in a bottle, or what? How?
Yeah, but you get it from my husband. Wrote down the nitrogen that we used, so I can't tell you because he gave me notes specifically.
Really? Oh wow!
He's very specific about it. He honestly, if you get my husband on the subject of compost, literally, you'd be here for days. Days. Here's it. Yeah. Oh, here you go. Yeah, if you want to cook if you cook and grow in hay bales, right, you need to condition the bale. You add nitrogen, so you can use any nitrogen-rich fertilizer. Some people recommend blood meal, but grass fertilizers work too. You add water and keep the bales wet, and you water once or twice a day. The water and the nitrogen feed the bacteria that break down the straw. And then he said it gets hot, really hot, 140 degrees or 60 degrees Celsius.
But that's breaking down the bacteria, so you need that heat to do that.
Yeah. And he said supposedly it can catch fire, but it didn't with us. It took our bales 4 to 6 weeks to cool down. And once they're cool, you can plant. And some people say you can get more than one season, but we only ever got one because after a period of time, it breaks really quickly. So now we have like raised beds that we've built with wood that we got from like these sleepers sort of thing that we got from the building site that was across the street. And we do a mix of hay that from last season and compost from the chickens. The chickens do our compost for us.
And then you grow directly into that?
Yeah, we do. But we initially... we seed. I'm getting better at it. It's like the whole thing of gardening is just, I don't know what your journey is, much better than mine, I'm certain, but mine is just not getting bothered about the screw ups, like just going failed, I'll try again.
Yeah, just keep moving forward.
Yeah. So now this year I've started seeds quite early. So I have kale, cucumber, peas, eggplant, what else? Rocket and spinach, all seeding. And actually in one of the beds, we have beets and spinach and cabbage sort of properly growing. And the thing that I like about seeding is that when we if I get a plant that I really like last year we grew, it was ridiculous last year because we are like, like sporadic gardeners. We're like the people where like literally people come around and they're like, what you got? And we're like, oh my God. So we grew some pumpkins and they were like 80 pounds though. They were like massive, these pumpkins. And so like I liked them, but there was a lot. So I have pumpkin seeds from the pumpkin, and this year I'll redo them, but only one plant because otherwise,
cool. Or it take over your whole yard.
And similarly with watermelons, and I can't even remember. We had another kind of melon that we were growing. But what
about the grapefruits? You showed us some grapefruits.
Right, these are Chesney Hawkes' grapefruits. Let me show you my grapefruits. Look at it.
Look at those. I could only dream of that.
And these are little tangerines that come off one of the trees that we painted.
Oh, wow.
You know the ones you used to get at Christmas? Right?
Yeah.
So literally...
Just like that?
Yeah,
hang on.
little ones there.
Oh, hang on, we're doing show and tell. What have
you got some?
I
got some tangerines! Hey! Woo!
Bless.
Yours look shinier though.
Just because they are not grown on my land.
I think one of the things about moving country has made learning gardening easier because you realise you don't know anything. Mm-hmm. Like you literally don't know anything. So we have things that we've planted. Oh, in fact, here's the thing. This is a very LA story, right? Which is we have a fig tree at the back of the land, and I don't really know how to do figs. I'm not sure what you're meant to do with them. I didn't grow up with figs. They were one of those things that I would see in supermarkets that weren't like, they were too posh for me to go to.
Yeah, they always seem like, exotic, don't they?
Yeah, you're like, what the hell are figs, man? So, but people would come and they'd be like, you've got a fig tree. And we're like, yeah, what do you do with it? And then we could never work out what the score was. Like we were like, they grow and then they rot. I don't understand it, right? They're green and then they're done and there's all these bugs on it. And then randomly, because how many years ago? Like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I had cancer, which is fine. I don't have cancer. But I had a plastic surgeon who helped me reconstruct after the cancer. And he came round to plant a passion fruit vine in the backyard. So we have a passion fruit vine that he got from Hawaii. So it's struggling here. And he looked at, when he came round, he said, I've got some white figs if you want them. And we're like, yeah, because we've got this fig tree. Don't really understand what it does. So if we have some white figs, then maybe we'll learn what figs are. And make it work.
You did not think of the internet.
But the thing is it's complicated because it's an old tree because it was here. And so it's like this big naughty thing where you're like, what the hell is that? And then he came round with his white figs, which were the figs that were on our tree. The reason that they were rotting was because we weren't picking them when they were meant to be picked, which is when they're green.
Yeah. So, if you leave them, then the wasps will enjoy them.
Yeah. Well, now there'll be a whole cacophony because the chickens like nothing more than a bug. So, there you go. Yeah.
I really liked how you just said when you go to another country and learn gardening, it's like starting all over. Yeah. When I first went to North Carolina, I was completely out of my comfort zone with regards to gardening. I didn't know anything about the soil and the climate.
Nice,
and I think that's really good for your education because I've learned loads of stuff about, different species, different plants, like how different things grow. And actually, I think that's been really, really useful. And now I've come back to Britain again, I kind of can use that knowledge. So it's quite good to actually experience gardening in another country as well. I love your hay bales. I bet it looks really, like you know how you said someone was from Tennessee and they came along and put with hay bales? That's kind of what I imagine that it looks like. It still looks kind of very country-esque, but in the middle of LA.
It's totally country. Front of the house is all business, right? Everything's all oak trees, everything lovely. Back of the house, people are like, what the hell?
What's happened here?
I do. We what we did is we initially the land was so broken. There was nothing really here that we just started everywhere. We wherever there was a place to grow stuff, we would grow stuff and see what happened, right? Because there was nothing to lose. Now we've put the chicken coop is at one side of the yard because chickens will destroy everything.
Yeah.
And then the other side of the yard, which is we kind of put this area, which is sort of like an allotment, and we've laid it out like an allotment. And then that means that the middle area we're beginning to start to make sort of LA-ish. But it's hard though because things grow and then you don't want to let go of them. So when we moved in here, there was like this tree that I was devastated to lose. It was so angular and beautiful. It had evidently been like I have a real problem with losing trees, and I really like trees to stay. And actually on big events, we'll plant trees because I really, really like them. And this tree, I loved it, but everybody said it's dead. You got to let it go. And I'm like, I can't. And it's a big pomegranate tree, beautiful.
Wow.
I know. The following year, we had a big load of rain, and this tree appeared, and it had the roots of it were so deep that it just came right back. You can try and
keep on growing. I love that.
Yeah. So right in the middle of our fancy way that we were trying to organise our allotment, hello, big pomegranate tree, what you going to do, and there it is, and that's where it stays.
You kind of I think the nicest way to garden is to work with what you've got, Yeah. It's there for a reason, it loves its place and it wants to grow.
But did you ever imagine when you were younger that you would be a gardener today?
No, but
you
my
never
dad
dabbled with plants when you were a kid or anything?
My dad loved gardening. He loved it. We had a tiny little garden. My dad loved it, but he was very shrub based. He liked shrubs, and that was it. He didn't like any of the fancy flowery things. And when I was younger, I used to plant money, coins, because somebody had said whatever you plant grows, and I was like, oh.
If only.
Yeah. And then I remember not being terribly sad when my dad buried the dead budgie in the backyard because I was like, well, we're going to get a lot of little joys. They're all. So, I had a concept that whatever you put in the ground came out, but obviously gardening isn't that. I honestly think it sort of saved my bacon a bit during this weird period of time. Like, because actually when you're out in the garden does what it likes. It doesn't care about politics, doesn't really care about you. There was a point where I was sitting, we have this little area in the backyard where they built an outdoor fireplace. So it looks like a little Welsh railway station or something. This is the weirdest thing. Because it was built in LA in 1942, and if something's kind of interesting, I don't really like to get rid of it because I'm like, well, what's this here for? It feels so I keep it. And I was sitting there round about April last year, and there's an orange tree just over my head, and this other beautiful tree, which I don't know the name of, that is like kind of like some weird sculpture. When there's no leaves on it, it almost looks better than when there are leaves on it.
Right.
And I'm sitting under these trees looking up, and the sky was blue. And I thought, you know what? If this pandemic wiped out the human race, the world would still be totally fine. Everything would still go on just fine. This isn't the end of the world. It may be the end of the human race, but not the end of the world. And weirdly, I found that quite comforting. I was like, oh, okay.
I like that. I agree with that. It's like, obviously every species wants to grow and evolve and stay alive.
Yeah.
But if we weren't here, nature will still be here. So it's like the whole planet isn't going to disappear. Yeah. We might, and we probably will at some point in the future. But nature is still there. Those trees with all the stories and history and the things that you've grown and the impact that you've made, that will still all be there. And that's what gardening does.
Unless the planet explodes or something.
Okay, well, let's not go that far.
Yeah, positive thinking.
We were trying to be positive.
Ding dong.
So obviously with all of the comedy you've done, I think we'd just really love to know if there's going to be some kind of backyard gardening sketch coming.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, but I when I'm in the garden, I don't really think about anything but the garden. I really don't. It's between me and it, And it's a little bit like, when people are talking about during the pandemic, they do a lot of jigsaws. And I sort of think that being in the garden is like a kind of living, moving jigsaw, like you're like doing something, then you're like, oh my God, right, okay. So that's now connected to that. Like the understanding that one of the reasons that we got chickens, aside from the fact that I wanted chickens, was that we had a big earwig problem, like earwigs. Right. And chickens love earwigs and bugs and weeds and all the things. And then you put chickens in, and all this thing that was problematic now becomes not problematic, right? And then, but with the arrival of chickens, then you get flies, and you're like, oh, the flies are really annoying me. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to have to do something with the flies. But then the flies also pollinate along with the bees. So then you're like, okay, well, technically you got to live a little bit. I like all that. I can't see that I would necessarily use it as anything other than relaxing. I do.
It's like your thing. It's your place to go and get away from everything else that goes on.
Oh, we wanted you to tell us a plant-based joke.
I don't have a plant-based. Do you know I can't do that though because I'm a dentist.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
You are.
Oh,
I'm
what
a
about
dentist.
the toothache plant? This. Have you heard of the electric daisy?
No.
Oh, it's this amazing little flower, and when you chew on it, it numbs your whole mouth, and it completely disables your tongue and everything. It is mad.
So you could actually grow that, and so in the past it was used to numb your mouth in dentistry, but obviously before there was anaesthetic, is it? Yeah. You could grow that, and then you could tell people you're a dentist and say, here, look, I'll prove it.
There you go.
There's always a link back to plants wherever we are, whatever we're doing.
Is it pretty? Does it look nice? Is it a pretty thing?
They're really pretty. It's, cute, it's like tiny little yellow and red balls, if you like. It's cute. It's a cute little plant. Yeah.
Because I have a thing about utility. I like utility in my plants, you know.
Okay, that's good.
Perfect.
So that might work.
You could probably grow a miracle berry there as well.
What's a miracle? Will that give me
one
miracle?
that changes a sour taste to sweetness.
Oh, wow.
It's really cool. You might not be humid enough though.
Yeah, we're not. We're very dry.
So,
poor passion fruit is like.
Thirsty.
Love it. Oh, thank you.
I love it. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for asking me.
It's been a pleasure. I'm really interested in the hay bales. I mean, I've seen it here and there, but not.
You have to try it.
Yeah, I actually might give it a go on my allotment, maybe.
It is amazing, and the thing that's really what I would say to make it that if you want to grow something for a longer period of time, make sure you box it in. The mistakes that we have a tomato vine, do you know, like we built a kind of archway. And so we were growing them in the hay bales, and then they would go up and over the vine. But over a period of time, the bales would, decay, disappear, which is a pain because then you've got a really good plant, right?
Yeah.
For this whole thing. But if you box it in, then it means that you can keep feeding. And in essence, so now we use new hay bales, or hay bales that we've just conditioned. But we mix it with stuff from others because the stuff from the season before is like liquid gold. It's incredible. And if you put it over, we use it a lot as well to keep in moisture. That's really our big issue.
I was actually going to say that about the hail that you use from the year before. If you put that into your beds, you got your raised beds, that must really help to retain the moisture in a really dry climate.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And it also weirdly stops burn. The things that we have to deal with are really sunburn and dryness, that things get too dry. And also that when it rains here, it really rains. There's no a little rain. There's not a quick shower. It's a boom. So then everything gets really waterlogged. And because we're clay-based, then that can be really problematic. So the hay kind of helps in a weird way to just stop things in every form. It's really useful. The other thing, you probably know this, earwigs. I never knew this, but I learned here, earwigs and soy sauce. Did you know this?
No.
Oh, man. It's the best thing. So if you get a problem with earwigs eating all your stuff, is you do bottles. You do maybe we do, because we had a lot of earwigs, we do yogurt pots and stuff like that, and you put oil in there. And any old oil and a bit of soy sauce, and they crawl in because they like the smell, and then they drown.
Wow, I've never heard of that either.
That's cool.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, so many tips.
Random
Thank you for joining us today. Thank you. But it's been really fun to learn about growing in hay bales.
Yeah,
Ellen's inspired. I might even give it a go as well.
Don't do it naked though, because you never know what's in there.
Especially if it catches on a light as well.
But no, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Inspiring what you're doing with vegetables over there. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy
I
your
do like the vegetables. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
Cobra is the very proud partner of Series 4 of the Plant-Based Podcast, joining in the celebration of plants, gardens and outdoor living. With over 60 models of lawnmowers available in the Cobra range, there's something for every garden. As a special offer for our listeners, Cobra is offering the chance to win exclusive prizes. Head over to cobragarden.co.uk to find out more.
It's recording
No,
now.
mine stays there when I go
well,
off.
you've got a posh phone.
No? Oh.
Anyway, sorry.
Look at the black bamboo.
There was a pause because I wanted to take a picture of some trees.
Black bamboo, Melon.
Don't you think that we should explain what Bressingham Gardens are all about, as with the conifers and firs?
You can, I'm busy.
So it's one of the most well-known gardens for the design being full of conifers and firs. and they're used in such a way that they like give amazing structure and texture, but there's still all of the most amazing perennials all around as well, and they have these like circular beds. I think this place was one of island beds.
They invented it, right?
Yeah, that's right. And these one of the first places to ever do that, and they look really fabulous.
But the light is perfect today.
Please, can I have a photograph?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Stop our recording again just for your pictures.
Oh, but I wanted the trees. Anyway, look,
Here
it's
in flower,
so
look.
gorgeous.
Does it smell? You bend down.
I'll bend down. Yeah, it's delicate. Oh, what's happened to this one?
Oh my gosh.
The dead skimmy are in the middle.
Isn't that amazing?
So the beds are kind of, like island beds, and then there's lush green grass kind of all around, and it twists and turns, and there's different heights of firs and conifers and different textures from all over the world. Look at this. Look at this. It's like a mound that you could, it looks like fallen branches that you could sit on.
Tropium speciosum in there.
Isn't that amazing? Oh, yes.
Yeah. And all of this glechoma, ground ivy. I think this is medicinal.
Oh, there you go.
Look at the curly hazel.
The curly whirly hazel.
Purple leaf one.
I mean, there's just so much interest. Like, there's so much. There's aces everywhere as well. It just looks very beautiful. There's lots of woodland planting as well, so you see loads of that. And oddly, there's daffodils, tulips, peonies, rhododendrons. What else did we just see flowering? Like all at the same time. So this season's slightly mixed up. That is for sure.
I've still got tons of daffodils in my garden.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, it's really odd. And then
It's weird because the daffodils are like, I guess because it was cold, so the daffodils weren't coming, and then they came when the tulips came,
yeah,
which is really cool actually.
yeah. But now we've got the next kind of batch now flowering, but the daffodils are still flowering as well. So you've got a double whammy.
It's Brillo.
Yeah.
Brillo pad.
It's really cool. A very nice place. So yeah, if you ever get the chance to come to Bressingham, definitely. And the garden centre's cool too.
Yeah, or my garden.
Yeah, well, you've just basically offered the world to come to
think,
your garden.
Do you think I should open it for charity? How long will it take people to tour it?
To be honest though, I think people would come to see you, not your garden, to be fair.
They could tour it in a minute. But there's I'm actually filming some stuff there this week.
What are you filming?
But this what is it? Because I know obviously by
Hang
the
on,
time
there's a bumblebee.
Oh, hang on, bumblebee alert.
There's a bumblebee that needs saving. Is it already? Oh no, it's there. Come on. Right, can you hold that?
Live bumblebee rescue here. She doesn't have any sugared water. I've got some iced coffee. No? Look at, don't flick it. What are you doing?
It's trying to get it onto the stick.
Why don't you use one of these
There we go.
trays?
It doesn't want to come, but it's very
I had some empanadas. I was offering Ellen the tray from the empanada to save the bee that is here. But the bee is now on the stick and she's edging towards the dicentra bed. I am aware they're renamed to Lampocapnos before you write in. She's just dropped it in the epimediums.
It's on the dandelion.
Oh, it's on a dandelion apparently.
There we go.
There we go. Drink up. I'm just translating all your words, Ellen, for the listeners.
Drink up.
Are you done yet, babe? I think they want some coffee. Come on.
I know.
Where is it?
It's on the dandelion.
Oh, I see. Right. Oh.
So he's got his nectar from the dandelion.
That's cool. Oh, I quite like that. Fall asleep and then get put on something yellow. That's cool. So we're doing some filming for, the shoe brand Yogi, who I've done a little bit of work with. I feel excited, but also nervous. I feel like one of those, where like people open their garden for charity and they're kind of like titivating it the last few moments. But to be honest, there's not really weeds, but there is 1,000 sycamore seedlings because my sycamore tree dropped them everywhere and they're becoming like a mini forest and I really need to kind of get them out quick.
Yeah.
But
They take
I don't
root
think
real quick.
that won't be seen on camera, so we're all right.
No one will see that bit.
Oh my lord. So that's what's happening really, Ellen.
Okay, thanks.
I'm doing by the time this podcast has gone out, I will have done my first live in person. Do you know what?
Yeah,
Like
same.
what previously were known as public events are now called in-person events. Have you heard that phrase?
No, is it really?
Yeah,
Are they actually?
because it's like kind of in person over virtual. Yeah.
It's really funny. My first in-person event is at the end of May, and then a few in June.
Are you worried
as
you
well.
forgot how to do it?
No, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Oh, there's that smell of hash again. Went past the lysochitin. Yeah.
Oh, that's really strong.
Yeah, no, I feel a bit excited but weird. Because, like, you know when you do Zoom and stuff, people are not necessarily looking right at you.
Yeah. No, but also when you can see people's videos on Zooms and they're at home, sometimes it looks like they're just really disinterested.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, you can get that in real life as well.
True. Well, no, I never do at my talks.
What's this, a grape? No.
No.
Kiwi?
No.
Oh.
That's a hazel of some kind, no?
Oh.
Yeah, I think so.
No, but it's climbing. I think it's something in the grape family. No, I think it is a kiwi, darling.
Yeah, but the leaves would be much bigger than this. No.
Yeah, but they're only just opening. I don't know.
I don't know.
I would use one of those apps, but they never work. It'll probably tell me it's a hazel.
I feel very pleased that we walked around and saved a bee.
I know, definitely.
I need to take something off you. Your
Yeah,
hands
sure.
are very full.
Carrying everything. 4 slippery trays where I've eaten my empanadas. Your phone, your battery pack as well.
Oh, well, so you
It's
should.
also, it's May, so it's that kind of really awkward
Look,
in-between temperature.
that was a red admiral butterfly.
was it?
First one I've seen this year.
I love this, look. Berberis, but look like tiny daffodils.
They're gorgeous,
Fun.
aren't they?
Yeah, anyway, back to me. I was learned about the weather.
Sorry.
You know, May, it's so annoying, isn't it? Because you don't know if you're hot or cold. And you end up just having this weird sweat on all the time.
Although, to be fair, at the time that we're recording this, I know exactly how I felt all May. Wet.
Oh, really?
It literally has not stopped raining in Norwich. It has not
Raining today?
stopped. I said up to the day we're recording, it has not
Yeah, but
stopped
that's
raining.
good. That's good for us gardeners.
Not all day, every day.
I don't know. I'm ready to plant stuff out. I want the soil to be nice and moist.
Yeah,
know?
maybe you haven't had as much rain in Ipswich as we have in Norwich.
Well, maybe not.
Because
no.
if you
It
had,
hasn't
you would.
got on my tits.
You would know what I mean.
Look at this walled garden, by the way.
Can you hear the birds
Oh,
singing?
it's not a walled garden. It's garden against the wall. There. Isn't that lovely?
Gorgeous.
I don't know why I'm holding your wrist.
No,
that one,
I
but
don't.
let's
You've
move
like
on.
stopped me to look by holding my
I
wrist.
just want you to look at the flowers. Look.
I know, it's so pretty. Really pretty.
that.
I actually love it here because everything,
trillium's great.
literally everything is labelled. It's amazing. All the plants and all the
too many
beds.
things are labelled.
Oh no, I like it. It's how you learn.
Yeah, true.
You know?
Look at that trillium. Oh my god.
They're fab, aren't they?
That's
Look
just
at that.
absurd.
Ah, they're just so funky.
Oh, do you know what I thought that was? And I wish it was, but I want to talk about it.
What?
You know, spring sweet pea, Laphrus vernus.
I've got
That's
one.
such a cool plant. Oh
Yeah.
my god. But also this Lamium orvala, the big one.
Yeah.
Wow, the pink one's nicer, but they are awesome
I
plants.
think the pink one's nicer.
Yeah.
The white one kind of, I'm
Yeah, it
lost.
doesn't do as much,
no,
but-
it kind of gets a little bit lost.
Oh wow.
Oh look, there's a yellow butterfly.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what that was.
Do you
called.
know, I'm really so happy with my garden. I get so many birds and wild.
Well, you've put all the
probably
food
birds,
out.
mostly birds, not bees and butterflies yet, but yeah, it's just it's fantastic.
They'll come.
Yeah.
As you create like that nice biodiverse space, they'll come.
What are you going to buy in the garden centre?
The acanthus, white.
Yeah.
Is it white water, or white river?
Yeah.
Acanthus. What else did I see?
Solaria.
Yeah, oh my god, like the bulby
one, yeah.
kind of like looking flower on it. That acanthus, I first saw one similar to that at Chelsea a couple of years ago, and I've wanted one ever
Yeah,
since.
Tasmanian tiger, I think was the original one.
So this, I'm sure this is called white something
Yeah,
as
this
well.
one was white
Honestly,
water,
I can't wait to get that. So yeah, we're going to go in the garden centre.
Dwarf iris as well.
Oh, pretty colours. What a beautiful garden. And so nice to be able to just come out and walk around in the
It's like a
sunshine.
live tour as well.
Yeah, advertising for Bressingham. Anyway,
Foster shoots, you can eat those. Have you ever done that?
no, what do they taste like?
I don't know, I need to try it, but I'll probably, if I pick them here, I'll get in trouble.
Okay,
Cool.
well, we're now leaving the winter garden. Anyway, going shopping.
Awesome. Right, I better put my oil soap container in the bin. Bye.
Bye.
The music for the Plant-Based podcast is part of the song Grow by Mikey James, and our editor is Gareth Patch of Semi Echo.